One of the foundational secrets for minimizing the moments of frustration as a mother is simply shifting your mindset about your responsibilities. Hey, to all my mothers out there who are tuning in today, being overwhelmed. Is there a mother who never experiences being overwhelmed? Because if you've never experienced this, then please send me an inbox, send me email, because I can get some strategies for you. But as we know, being overwhelmed, it happens. It happens with all of our roles, but let's just focus on the mother role, because being a mother is like 1,000 roles right within itself. We doctors, we teachers, we're lawyers, we're doing mediation and all that stuff with the siblings. We're chefs, we're cleaners, we're so much. We're friends, we're confidants, we're all of that just as a mother. And it gets overwhelming. Period, point blank. It comes with the role. It's overwhelming. It can be frustrating, but yet so rewarding, right? Because there's so many benefits and rewards of being a mom as well. But the overwhelmness can be a lot. And we look at all of the different things that we have to do, especially for those who have children activities. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But I wanted to give some strategies today of how can we minimize those moments of being overwhelmed, because moms, we can't minimize them. I haven't found a strategy where that they're gone completely, but I have learned how to minimize those moments, and that's simply by changing my mindset and my approach in regards to how I go about doing things with my kids. I want to give an example. I have a friend of mine who was going through a lot of challenges with her daughter. And her daughter was, at that time, I guess, going into a residential place. And for those who don't know, residential locations for students, or students, because I'm a teacher too, is for kids who deal with suicidal ideations or drug addictions, or basically they're in another place for a couple of months for their safety, to work on their mental health, to learn coping strategies and things of that nature. So she had been going through this process with her daughter, and she was getting close to have to admit her daughter into the facility. And we were talking one day, and I was like, oh, I gotta go pick up these kids. I gotta go do this. We just kind of talk and kind of complain, but like, I got so much to do. And she looked at me and she said, I wish I could take my child to practice or pick them up from a game. She said, appreciate those moments. And, it was a little reality check, in that moment, because sometimes we just lose the joy of serving our kids and being a mother because it's so much. But the perspective, it totally shifted for me. So even when I went to go pick up my kids, and I told her, I said, you know what, thank you. With everything that you're going through right now, we had that moment just to talk, mom to mom, friend to friend kind of thing. But something as simple as shifting your mindset will change how you approach your roles and the responsibilities and things you have to do as a mom, right? So one of the values at my church, which I love and I've applied it into my motto as a mother, is one of our mottos is get to and not have to. So we get the privilege to serve at church and do different things. It's not a daunting task. It's a privilege to be able to, I get to do this. So even one something as a shift just as that, to adopt that motto, I get to be there for my kids. I get to go pick my kids up from school. I get to cook for them. I get to clean. I get to help them with homework, because in the grand scheme of it, there are so many people and there's so many women who are already dealing with issues with trying to conceive. They want children, right? And they would probably switch roles with you in a second, right? Because that is something that they desire. And at one point we all desire it. And not to say that anybody doesn't want to be a mom. Like, I'm not taking away from that, but also knowing and understanding that we have those moments where we just get overwhelmed, but we want to minimize those moments because we don't want our kids to think that being there for them is a task or it's daunting or they're not important enough to do that. So I want you to adopt that model. If you don't get anything else, as adopt that model. If I get to do this, this is a privilege, right? So I'm going to give you 3 reasons of why it's important to shift your mindset regarding your responsibilities as a mother. 1, it lightens the psychological mental weight of the responsibility, right? When I shifted my mindset from saying, oh, man, I have to go do this, I have to go do that, I have to do this. And I said, you know what? I get to do this. It changed the weight of it. It didn't feel like a burden. It didn't feel like a task. It didn't feel daunting anymore, right? It was like, I get to do this. So let me get in the right mindset. God, I thank you that I'm able to have a vehicle to go pick my kid up. I'm thankful that I'm in my right mind. I'm thankful that my child wants to be sociable and go do things. And putting on that attitude of gratitude and thankfulness will shift the way that you feel, right? The Bible talks about being thankful. It is a kingdom principle and a practical strategy all at one, but we have to be intentional to implement it. We have to be intentional to actually do it in those times so that we're showing gratitude and we're not grudgingly doing things. So lightening the psychological weight of the responsibility simply by taking a pause and saying, I get to. I remember when my kids were young, I really had this model when they were babies. And the crying and the changing the diapers and waking up in the middle of the night, and I would say, God, I thank you that my baby is crying. I thank you that I have enough diapers that I'm able to change this diaper a whole bunch of times in one day. God, I thank you that my child's bladder is even moving. All right. It lightens the load of it. So I will wake up in the middle of the night with more delight. Like, I'm tired, but God, I thank you. All right. So shift that mindset. Another thing is reason why it's important to shift that mindset is we have to remember that our children are a blessing. They are a gift. They didn't ask to be here. And whether you intended to have kids intentionally or if it was an accident per se, but if you're not using protection, it's not an accident. But anyway, they're a gift. They are a gift from God. Now, while you can think about the things that your children have done that get on your nerves, there are so many things that I know for myself I can think of where my children bring so much joy. I'm a mom of 4 boys, right? I have ages 19, 15, 12, and 10. So I got elementary, middle school, high school, and one in the military right now. So you talking about busy, but I have the whole range of them and all of their personalities. I have a different type of relationship with each of them, but I tell them so many times, I'm so happy God created me to be your mom. And I'm so happy that you're my son, right? Like, regardless of everything, our importance or our role, like the seasons of motherhood changes and the way our kids needs us, it changes over the year. It's not always as daunting, but they're a gift. And just being thankful, like, God, thank you, right? Changing your mindset, it also positively impacts your children. I have one of my children. He could pick up real easy when I'm frustrated, my second. He knows when I'm busy. He knows when I'm frustrated. And I notice when he wants to ask me something or ask to go do something or get my permission, he can approach me in a more timid approach because he doesn't want to bother me. He's just trying to find the right time, right? And after a while, I kind of noticed that. And I was like, I don't want him to think him asking me something is bothering me, but sometimes we don't realize how we come off, right? When your kids come to you and say, oh, I have this after school, or, oh, I got this project, or this came up, or even when they get sick, you got to take them to the doctor, and we either go, like those indirect things, like, okay, let me figure it out, because you're trying to balance, because you got to rearrange your schedule now. You got to go here, find out who's going to go here now, but all our kids see is that moment of us like a disapproval, however they interpret it or perceive it as such. So we have to be mindful, because when we shift that mindset, when something comes up on our plate as mothers that we didn't plan to do, but you know what, God, I thank you that I'm able to take you to a doctor. It changes the approach, and it makes our kids not feel as if they're a burden, but they can see, not necessarily the delight in us, but they can see that, okay, mom is there. Mom is willing to be there. It just shifts everything for them, for yourself and for your kids. So that's why it is important to try to shift that mindset, because the way you act, the way your kids perceive you is going to be a difference. It shifts, the power of a woman and how we can shift an atmosphere in our home or wherever we are. There is a reason for that. So we have to be mindful for that. Okay. So As we're getting ready, as we're going through this school year, before we know it, summer will be here. Whenever you're watching this video, there's always going to be something that we can do. But to remember to remind yourself, you get to. It is a privilege. It is a privilege to serve your children, no matter the good days, the bad days, when you feel like they're listening and when they're not listening, you are still their mother, right? Now, organization and time management also matter in these essence to try to minimize the moments of being overwhelmed. Do you have a schedule? Do you have things out? I use a share calendar with my kids. So when one has to go to work, if someone has an after school activity, my youngest is in like chess club tournaments, everybody knows how to put different things on the calendar. So on this shared family calendar, everybody has their own color calendar. So if there's something with just me and one kid, we have our own separate calendar in Apple. And then there is a family calendar right on Apple so my husband can see it. So I'm able to put in there, hey, dad's picking up this kid, or mom's picking up, or this, that, or the third. That has been a strategy that has helped a lot because my kids are getting older and they have a lot of more other things that they have to do on their plate. So organizations matters as well. So while you're shifting your mindset, you have to be organized. Plan things out, right? Even if it comes to what kids are doing what in certain seasons of the year. Like we used to have to shift activities sometimes. Like we're only 2 people. We can't be everywhere at once. So how do we make sure we do the practical strategies of not putting too much on our plate, asking for help, ladies, even if it's not done the way that you want it, but asking for help. Those different things you have to organize. All of those things come into place to help minimizing those moments of being overwhelmed. Okay. Remember this, mamas, you're not going to always have this opportunity. They're going to grow up. They're going to get older. Some will leave your houses depending on different situations. I know that you have some parents who have children who have special needs. So their demands of what they have to deal with is a lot more than what some of us have dealt with. So, definitely prayers and strength to those parents who are dealing with those situations as well. But even in those cases, it could still be worse, right? But God knew when he made you the mother of those kids that you have, whether you are stepmom, whether you've adopted them, the fact that you play a part in raising them, it wasn't an accident. Let's say that God did it intentionally. He knew what he was doing. So have joy, be mindful, be grateful, organize, put your time management strategies and things in place. But it's going to be okay. And you'll see those moments of being overwhelmed will decrease by shifting that mindset. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the video. Please go check out my website at www.kbconsultingforher.com for more resources and things that I have for parents to help with things of this matter. And until next time, continue to pursue her, being heroic, empowered, and resilient as a mother.